Assalamualaikum semua, selamat malam. Selamat datang ke JOM TAKEOFF Episod 8 dengan topik American AIRMAN. Dan pada malam ini dan yang hadir bersama walaupun kami ada pengganti yang kurang hebatnya. Menemani saya pada malam ini sahabat baik saya, juga seorang juruterbang jauh dari Dubai. Saya perkenalkan Kidir.
Hi everyone, nama saya Kidir and I'll be filling in for Captain Yazran who is unable to be with us tonight. I'm also a fellow pilot and I bring with me some airline experience in the States, so hopefully that all dovetails with the goals of tonight's show. Back to Cap.
Okey, terima kasih Kidir atas sokongan dan pelibatan dalam JOM TAKEOFF. Selain daripada kelainan pada hos, malam ini juga ada sedikit kelainan daripada tetamu jemputan kita. Beliau merupakan seorang pilot dari Amerika Syarikat. Oleh sebab itu, sesi kita pada malam ini akan dikendalikan dalam bahasa Inggeris insya-Allah. Kami memohon maaf atas sebarang kesulitan dan kekurangan. Terima kasih dan selamat menonton. Assalamualaikum, good evening and good morning viewers from Central America. I believe it's still Sunday morning in Central America. Welcome to JOM TAKEOFF Episode 8 with the topic American AIRMAN. I'm your host, Cap, and co-hosting together with me tonight is my good pal, also a pilot all the way from Dubai, Kidir, as he introduced himself before. Thank you, Kidir. It's a great pleasure to have you on board with us. Thank you everyone for watching. Please follow and like our Facebook page and please subscribe on our YouTube channel. For any comments, you are most welcome to leave them in the comment section. Fahim got called up tonight and is unable to do a live recording with us. However, we managed to do a recording earlier. Any questions for Fahim will be answered later, but any questions for me or Hidir, you can answer now in the comment section. A small introduction about the title of our show. JOM is a Malay slang word. It means let's. So JOM TAKEOFF means let's take off to relate our show with pilots and the aviation world. For tonight, our guest is from San Antonio, Texas, USA. I've known him for quite a while. We used to be in the same company in Saudi Airlines. After we ended our contract, he moved back to the States and I came back home to Malaysia. However, we still keep in touch until now. Without further ado, let's welcome all the way from San Antonio, Fahim Siddiqui. Assalamualaikum Fahim, how are you?
Walaikum salam. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon for all the viewers out there. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to this meeting that we have, or this interview that we have. So yeah.
You are most welcome, and we are most honored to have you join our live session. And let me also introduce you my good friend, Mr. Hidir.
Hello again.
Hello.
So it's quite nice because I'm here in Bangi in Malaysia. Hidir is in Dubai. You're in Texas. It's like wow, amazing. Different zones and I mean different place, different weather. It's quite nice, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So some people are just waking up. Some people are just going to bed.
Yeah,
so, how's the weather there? How's the weather there? It's summer right now.
It is actually in the end of summer. We're getting towards the. It's cooling down now. We're still hitting about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about your 40 degrees centigrade, or about 38 degrees centigrade. So it's hot here. Not as hot as as hot as in Riyadh when we were there.
Yeah,
but it gets to that. It gets to that point. It gets to that
that's
point.
crazy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I
Is that
mean, for us in Dubai, we're actually in the high 30s, but it's about to come down in the high 20s in the next few weeks. It's going to
Yeah,
be pleasant.
yeah, that's what we're hoping for over here too.
so actually like winter is coming right in a few months, correct?
Yeah, yeah, winter is coming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
So
almost
but
here.
in San Antonio, during the winter, is it like very cold or is it just
So yeah, so
uh
the thing with over here, we are pretty south of the states. We're in Texas, so it's what you see in the Western movies where there's deserts and there's horses. We're not all cowboys and stuff. There are a lot of cowboys. Don't get me wrong, but the weather here it does get pretty hot here, and in the
mhm.
winter times, to answer your question, it does snow in parts of Texas.
Mm.
Actually,
Uh-huh.
last year we had one of the worst winter storms here. We weren't
Oh,
prepared for
okay.
that, so we had power outages. We had pipes that were bursting. It was pretty severe because it was no power for a few days for a lot of people
Mm.
within the state.
Oh,
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
see.
it was bad. I don't know if you heard that on the news last year.
Yeah,
I,
it
I,
actually came out, and there was, of course, it got political. I think that was like roughly after the transition of the presidency, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, well, it wasn't. It was during that time, but I think it was more to do with the grid, how Texas's grid is different, the
It's
like the power grid.
privatized.
So yeah, of course, it had some politics in there, but yeah, it's absolutely there's always someone's making money.
yeah, politics, of course. But before we go any further about your experience as a pilot in the States, can you please tell us a little bit about your background?
I'm actually Pakistani American. I was
Okay.
born in Pakistan, but at the age of approximately, I think, 1 years old, 1 year,
Mhm.
we moved to the States. Um, so a little bit of background, even further, so you have an idea of where everything is coming. So, like I said, Pakistan. My dad, my mom, they moved to the U.S. We moved actually to Connecticut, up north, close to the northern side of U.S. We moved over there for a year. Then we actually moved down to San Antonio, Texas. I know you're probably wondering why San Antonio, Texas. It's the middle of nowhere. Don't ask me.
Mhm.
I have no idea as well. They just wanted to come here. They're like, let's go. And that's the
The
beauty
jokes
back
are.
then. Back then, if you look at it, there was none of this, this stuff that we have. Um, Phones, learning, Googling, all this stuff. Back then, it was just like,
Mhm.
no, let's go. It's like the wagon, like what we were saying, cowboys. They just like that. So they came to
Okay.
San Antonio. My background, I've got five sisters. I am the only brother or the son within our family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as aviation, nobody in my family is in aviation. My dad
Uh-huh.
was in the airline realm as far as management side, but he wasn't
Uh-huh.
in the flying aspect or anything with the cabin crew or excuse me the
Uh-huh.
flight deck crew. So he was in the Kuwait Airways back in the good old days in Pakistan. He
Uh-huh.
actually grew up in Germany as well, so I'm going back in the future, or back in the past, excuse
Wow.
me.
Wow.
So yeah, so going back to San Antonio, so we moved to San Antonio, um, and I was literally I think 2 years old at that time. So like I said, 1 years old, or maybe two
Mhm.
and a half or so. Grew up in
Uh-huh.
San Antonio. We came here. I had no desire about being a pilot when I was a kid. I didn't even know about it. I was like, okay, there's planes flying. There's someone flying it. All right, cool.
Mhm.
As we progressed on, I went to school here. Grew up in San Antonio. We would travel here and there, but not that much. It was pretty much in San Antonio. So
Mhm.
I was heavily influenced with what was around me. So San Antonio, Texas, is predominantly Hispanic. A lot of the
Mhm.
culture
Oh,
comes from the south of the border, this was all territory a long time ago, all Mexico and so
Mhm.
on. this whole area was all Mexico. So there's a lot of Hispanic culture here, and it's pretty cool. It's really neat. It's similar to the cultures that we have. You know, it's very family culture bound. Whereas you see over here, you'll see a lot of people together as far as family. You'll see like the grandmother, the parents, a close knit family with the Hispanic culture, and it was similar to what we have as a Muslim community, and as well as for a Pakistani community, and I'm sure that's the same thing in Malaysia. All right, I actually went to school. My actual thing was I wanted to become a doctor. I did some classes in school. I really didn't want to do that for some reason. I guess it was just too much classes, and I thought I wasn't that smart, but I guess I am. I don't know. But so I ended up I was taking business classes after that in college, and I was going to school at University of Texas in San Antonio.
Still inside San Antonio.
Still inside
Still
San
not.
Antonio.
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Yeah. Okay.
So my friend, family friend, he had actually one day got his private license, private PPL.
Yes.
And we met one day, and he's like, "Yeah, I did this flying, and you should come out with me and just check it out." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool. I would love to, sit on an aircraft and go fly." So he took me on a small little plane, and we went up, and he just went around, did circles, and then we came back, and I think that was my awakening into flying. And this was the age of roughly about 17 years old. So I was 17, 18 years old. I was awakened by that. I was like, okay, I like this. I didn't know I had the opportunity to get my license. And I didn't have the intent to become an airline pilot at that time. I was like, okay, I have an intent to. That's the thing about in the US, you can actually get your PPL, your CPL without actually going into the airlines. So I was like, okay, let me take this PPL. Let me try to do the courses and see how, maybe I might like it, and just put it on my CV.
Would you be breaking the bank if you were to go all the way in one shot? Like ATPL or whatever the FAA equivalent
Yeah,
is?
so that's actually what I ended up doing. I ended up doing that because I was actually going to school and I was doing my my flight training as well. Here. So what I ended up doing was I actually started liking flying, and I was okay. I'm consistent with this. I like what I'm doing. I have a knack for this. I'm good at this type of flying, or this thing called flying. So I liked it, and I just kept on doing it. It's a program here from pretty much from private license all the way to CPL, 0 to hero as I call it. So over here, there's quite a few academies that do that here, and it gave me pretty much I had my private license at that time, but it gave me my instrument rating. It gave me, and I can explain a little bit more on what those are if you like. Instrument rating, your CPL, which is your commercial pilot license. I also ended up learning how to teach. So I'm actually a teacher as well. I'm what's called a advanced ground instructor. I have my ground instructor training. Not my certificate, but my licenses to advanced train. My next one is my my single engine pilot license. Single, so it's only one engine. My multi-engine license. Those are all in one license. And then I'm a certified flight instructor, certified multi-engine instructor, and instrument rated and commercial. So I can train, and that's what I learned from all that as well. So as going back in the background train, so it started from not knowing anything, not wanting it, had the flying bug that I think everyone gets once they feel it. Once you're able to feel flight, I think, or be in that aspect, it's like a drug, I'd say. It's like you want more of it. You want to try. You want to keep on going, and that's what I was hooked on it. I loved it. And it's a good drug. Of course, it's a good drug.
Yes.
After that, when did you start to enter the airlines?
So I started the airlines. Well, I started instructing. I started instructing in 2007, 8, roughly around that time, and I was instructing for about 2 weeks. I trained a lot, and it was an interesting experience because I trained people from all around the world.
Okay.
I trained people that had a lot of experience in flying. I trained more experience at that time that I had. I was training people because they were coming in from different countries and they wanted to convert their license to the FAA license, which is really good. And they were converting it. So I was training a lot of these guys, and a lot of them had more experience than I did. It was amazing. But at the same time, they were very humble, and they wanted to learn, and they stuck to the program, and they did amazing. So I instructed for 2 years. Then after that, I had the opportunity of flying in the airlines in 2010. So I joined the U.S. Airlines, and I flew for the U.S. Airlines since roughly 2010 all the way up to 2016. And I was flying all sorts of aircraft, from turboprops, that's where I started, onto jet engines, jet aircrafts. And these were actually narrow bodies, small to narrow bodies. And then after 2016, when I had the opportunity, and this opportunity came out of nowhere, to be honest, and I'll tell you more. But this time, I was actually upgrading to be a captain. Right at 2016, I was upgrading to be a captain on the Embraer 170, 175. Yes. So I was upgrading for that, and I had before my upgrade, I had actually applied to a lot of places, and I also always wanted to have that experience of traveling throughout the world with a different, a different flag carrier that wasn't, let's say, U.S. carrier. I wanted to fly out. My goal was to fly out either in an Asian country or a Middle Eastern country. So I was applying a lot to different countries, and I was applying to Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, and with the experience that I had, and Saudi. And I went to a few interviews. They actually came to the States at Emirates, and they did some interviews here as well. And then Saudi, actually out of nowhere, because I kept on following back and just emailing HR, and that's the biggest thing with anything you do is follow up with whatever you can do, even if they don't get back to you. Just show that you're interested and get back to them. And that could be from any type of job, career path, whatever you want to look at. Just follow up with anyone. It shows a lot of it shows a dedication to what you're trying to go for. So so Saudi actually emailed me back, and they said, "Hey, we want you to come in for an interview." And this was this was back in October of 2015. I said, "Okay, let's do that." So I flew, and they said, "You've got to arrange everything, and you've got to come to Cairo." Because the thing with Saudi, you need a visa, or you need to go through the whole process. So they actually brought us to Cairo to do all the evaluation, psychometric, all of that. So it was a 5-day course. So I flew into Cairo. It was an amazing experience. Being out of the bubble. I traveled out of the U.S. a few times, but not in that caliber, where I'm just going into a different country, trying to figure it out. A lot of the things, as you can tell, as you can also reiterate, was not a lot of organization skills, especially in Saudi Arabia. As far as
I can tell.
As far as on time and so on. So that was a different aspect on that aspect. So the interview, I went in, did all the interview, and they said, "Great, you did good. We'll let you know in a few weeks." I said, "Okay." I went back to the U.S. and a few weeks passed by. That was a big thing. I followed up again. no answer. So at this time, I was okay. I'll just keep on following up monthly. So I was following up monthly, and at that time, I was upgrading as well. So I just
What
finished.
what? I'm sorry. What about from Emirates, Etihad, the other Middle Eastern airlines? Did they
Yeah, a lot
contact you
of them
back?
didn't call back. A lot of them, I try to follow up. They never called back
Mm-hmm.
at that time, and I just guess that there, especially in aviation, well, not just aviation, with anything, it's timing. Timing is
Mm-hmm.
everything, and you know how aviation industry is very cyclical. It goes up and down. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
find the right timing to get into any of these slots. You can be,
Mm-hmm.
you can have thousands of hours. You can be the guy that just flew to space, but if the timing isn't right, they're not going to hire
Mm-hmm.
you. So,
Okay. Okay.
it could be anything. If the timing is right, that's the biggest thing. And I guess my timing wasn't right for those companies at that
Yep.
time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Saudi, at the time when I had just finished I just about to start my line on as a captain in one of the companies here. They called me. They said, "Hey, you got 1 week to, or this, you got this much. Are you still interested in coming to for the training?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was on a, I was okay. Do I leave my captain position and go over there? I've got no idea. Training this.
Mm-hmm.
This is for me. It is a different world
Mm-hmm.
compared to living in America. Am I going to be able to cope with it? Am I going to be able to go? And what if I don't make it? What if this? What if that? So what was happening to me, and this happens to everyone, is that they go into what's called analysis paralysis. So they analyze something so much that they get paralyzed in the analyzing of that. So they just come into
Okay.
what's called a tunnel vision. So
Mm-hmm.
at that
Yes.
split second, I just said to myself, I said, okay, I'm young. Let's think 15, 20, 30 years down the line. When I look back, would I be happy at what I did? Or would I, this type of opportunity, can I tell myself that, hey, I've made this huge step, and I look back now, and it doesn't matter if it was good or bad, I took the
Uh,
dive. I took the action.
I think
I
actually.
just want to add
Okay.
something
Sorry.
also. We actually have something in common, all three of us, because you said you forewent the upgrade to go to another airline. Both me and Kep, we would have had our own upgrades in the next couple of years if we didn't leave the airlines ourselves. We would have been captains on the 737, and we I guess we all weighed and analyzed as much as we could anyway, and we took the jump.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yes.
So
Correct.
In Saudi,
financially, it's good in that aspect. Don't get me wrong.
Uh-huh.
People in the U.S., you do make a lot as well. In the airlines,
Uh-huh.
you do make a lot. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, again, it's just how I wanted to see that glass. I wanted to see it,
Mm-hmm.
half empty, or however you want to see it, half full. So that's why I went
Mm-hmm.
over there, and I said, let's try it. It's an opportunity that I'll get once in a lifetime. I'll look
Mhm.
back in, maybe 30, 40 years, inshallah, if I live that long. I'll look back and, I'll say that, wow, that was an experience. Not just the experience as far as flying, but the experience of going and meeting people that I would have probably never sat down with, on going to an Afghani restaurant, sitting down with a plastic
Yeah.
bag, rice, and we're all eating there. And all the people are from where? I was from America. Somebody was from Europe, Poland. Somebody is from Malaysia. Somebody is from everywhere. And it's not like they grew up in U.S. where there's different cultures. No, they grew up in their own countries, and then they came. So it's a totally different aspect, and that's something that I would have never got here. And interacting with people, like I said, from different aspects of the world, different cultures, different. We were just all in symbiotic in one area, in one thing. We were just united pretty much, and that was beautiful.
Yes.
I think that's what I thought. That's what I loved about that aspect. flying was great. Yeah, I loved it. It was great, but it wasn't just that. That wasn't just the cream of the crop, or that wasn't the cherry on top. That was just some of the stuff that made that that nice ice cream float.
Correct.
Meeting the people, meeting you, and I'm getting to talk to you after after a few years. We're still keeping in touch. It's a connection. We're all connected, interlinked, chained, however you want to say it. We're all linked together. But it's just you would have never met me if I would have never made that chance, or you would have never made that chance. You would have stayed the captain in Malaysia, but you would have never had that experience. Your family that you brought, they would have never had that experience of going out of the country, and that was it was for me. I think that's the beautiful thing. It's not about the flying; it's about interacting and meeting other people and exploring these other cultures and exploring these other worlds that we like to say. Because it gets you out of your comfort zone, and you learn so much when you're out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
So moving on, the next question is, what is it like flying in the US versus other countries you've worked in? The flying, the lifestyle, the crew relations, and the layovers.
Yeah, as far as let's start with American itself. So the companies that I've flown with, and if you look at America's so big that a flight from one corner to the other is about five hours. That's pretty long.
That's New York flight to LAX.
Yeah, if you do something like that, LA to New York, that's about 5-hour journey, 5.5 sometimes. Insane. So it's a long journey just being within the States and not even leaving. So I do a lot of domestic flying. So the domestic flying, and even going down to South America, it's fun. It's fun. You're within the U.S. It's comparing it to what I was flying in Saudi and different countries. We flew to different parts of the country, different parts of the world. Excuse me, different countries. It was a good experience. Comparing it to the U.S., you really can't compare. It's like you've got different countries that have they're very I don't know. I like to say the old Pan Am type. They still have that aspect. That's very nostalgic and stuff. Where in the U.S. they're going a little bit away from that. It's more intertwined. It's not intertwined. Excuse me. It's more. It is more profit driven. It's more but they still give you a good service. They still, in some aspects, they give you the safety is there, but it's streamlined. That's the thing. It's more streamlined. Mainline streamlined. That you go in, you come in, you fly. That's it. Whereas, if you're flying, of course, if you're flying international, it's still a little bit different. You don't have like again, it depends on the aircraft size. The flight attendants, they're all lined up. The pilots, they're lined up. They're of course they're in their uniforms and so on. But it's a different, flying at these other carriers. It's a little bit different in that aspect.
And I assume the crew turnover is pretty low as well in the US. The dinosaurs, they stick around, eh?
The thing is, you have so this goes back to union. This is This is more of a union type because in the U.S. it's more union driven, so you can hold your position a lot more. Whereas in different countries, which I've seen, is the HR will actually, sorry to say, but they'll discriminate on hiring. So you have to be a certain size, height, weight, age, where that is very discriminatory in the U.S. and that is why you have the unions. And with the unions, you can't do that. They have a lot of backing. So of course, there's a lot more longevity of an employee working as, let's say, a cabin crew, or they'll have a better backing. Whereas in different countries, another thing in what I've noticed is that in the U.S. it's more it's more of a CRM, let's say, a crew resource where everyone gets to say something.
The power gradient is
so there is a big difference on that, depending on who you fly with, and I'm sure it's more more dependent on that person, but it does go back to the airline history as well too, whereas they're still very, you know, this person has more rule than the other person. You can't really go over that person. Whereas in the U.S., after a lot of training and a lot of crashes that happened in the 80s and 90s, they've implemented, where everywhere on the world is implementing, is CRM, where if I, as a first officer, see the captain doing something, I better say something. I better speak up. If it's not right, doesn't matter. I've got to speak up, even if he gets mad, which he shouldn't, because the thing is, it's a resource that we're using, the crew, the whole crew. It's not like he has, of course, on paper he has full authority as a captain, as far as, you know, taking the decisions and so on, but he has to delegate. That's the biggest thing, is delegation. It's not a single pilot operation or a single crew operation. So there's a lot of aspect of that I've seen in the States, that, you know, there's a lot of that where there's a lot of delegation, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of hey, there's weather, which, you know, what do you think we should do? You know, there's always back and forth, because it's better to have two minds than one mind and he's just doing everything. Maybe you don't see the whole aspect. Maybe as let's just say, for example, I'm the type of guy, this is an example, I'm the type of guy that only sees, excuse me one second. Okay, so that only sees, you know, what he wants. And these are the crashes that happened in the 80s and 90s in the US and around the world, that they saw that if the guy to the right or the guy to the left would have just listened, they would not have killed themselves and whoever's in the back and whoever's on the ground. So that's
interesting. In the CRM, they're actually trying to stick it wherever in all the other airlines as well, but it doesn't seem to stick in the more Eastern airlines, where there's a lot of pandering to and reverence to like seniority and age, and you know, you can preach as much as you can, but once you get in the cockpit in practice, it kind of falls back to that old cultural values again. Anyway, let's go on to the next question for me. What are some of the harder, whether it's heavy traffic, shorter runway, or bad weather, the harder airports that you've experienced landing in the US?
In the US, well, you know how ATC is over here. So ATC is air traffic control. So air traffic control is actually the ones that control the flow of aircraft coming in, going into a certain airport, going into a certain area. So ATC, it gets congested in certain areas. Not ATC in general, but aircraft, they get congested in a certain area where a lot of people fly. So you'll get this a lot in the northeast part, New York area. You'll get this a lot in the Chicago area. You get this a lot in the California, Los Angeles area, even Dallas, Houston area, and parts of Florida area. They get very congested. So, you know, there's a lot of times that, you know, you have that, and then you have on top of it weather. As U.S. is such it's a big country, they have all sorts of weather. You know, you might be flying from an area that's, you know, sunny, and the next thing you know, there's a hurricane on the other side. So that's the thing. There's a lot of variables within that. So for me, I don't think it would be the hardest place, but that keeps me on my toes, that excites me, that I like to do. It's actually, I like to go into when I used to, I haven't flown there in a while, but there's this arrival into Washington or Reagan. It's called the visual arrival, the Potomac visual arrival into Reagan Airport. So if you have something, you can pull it up and you can screen share it, and we can walk about that. And it's just an arrival that takes you on the Potomac River. There's a river. On the left side, you've got the White House, the Washington Monument, and your hand.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah, so you're seeing this as you're turning in, and your hand flying it in some aspect. and you've got this runway. So it's beautiful. I love it. I love that because it actually brings you back from what we're doing now in the airlines. It's a lot more management driven, where we're managing a lot of the things, whereas we don't go back and become pilots, our airworthiness type, can we fly it, or stick and rudder type, or whatever type of aircraft you're flying, flying that, hand flying it. And that's the fun part of seeing that, doing that type of arrival into Reagan. Even in there's some fun ones in LaGuardia Airport next to JFK. It's a small runway, and that's congested.
Okay.
The controllers are shouting at you. You got to be on top of your toes. So it's fun. It's a fun, atmosphere if you like that type of stuff. So you got to be on your toes when you go into these things, and it's fun because it's a change of pace.
In a big airline, I know what you're talking about with the visual approaches. They actually tend to try and move away from that. Like, for example, we had some insane incidents in Canarsie, the visual approach into JFK, where we had planes that were just like a couple of 100 feet above a hotel when they were supposed to be a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So what we ended up with, we just started drawing up these GPS waypoints, visually flying. And of course, you need high fidelity with your equipment. I guess that's where we're moving in the future, just away and away from visual. But that's the way it is with a lot of pilots flying different airplanes.
Yeah, it's as far as a company standpoint, as a corporation standpoint. Yeah, they want to have something that doesn't have any error. They want to minimize their error. So
that's what they're doing.
Error means accidents. Accidents means, unfortunately, lives, but also money in a nutshell for them. So that's a big thing. So that's what I noticed. And even in Saudi, we were able to hand fly as well. They weren't really strict on that, but I know some carriers you have to do it, all automated. But the thing is, there's a flip side to that. You're doing everything automated. Let's say, for example, what's called in the airlines or any type of flying, there's something called an MEL, minimum equipment list, or where you can fly an aircraft to, it's still operable, but that part doesn't have to be operable, but you can still fly. So, for example, if the autopilot's not operable, we can still fly an aircraft. But if you've always been flying on automation, and then you go to hand flying it, let's say with whatever aircraft, either it be a yoke or a side stick or whatever it is. That's the two common ones. The two only ones, yeah. So it's pretty hard to get back into that groove. And for the passengers, they're going to be going up and down. They're going to be going. It's funny. Well, that's why I always say. That's why they rely. You should do a little bit of hand flying here. Fun.
Awesome. I guess that would have covered the next question as well, which was favorite destinations, unless you have any other ones.
No, that's not my favorite destination. Well, is this for flying or just in general?
For flying, I guess.
Okay. Well, I like to take it back to when I was flying in Saudi. I remember I loved flying to Istanbul.
Correct.
Over.
Did they have the new airport then?
Yeah, I actually went to the new airline.
We flown both, right? We managed to fly both airports.
I did a few approaches to the new one. It was massive. That airport was like 2 airports combined into one. Big airport.
Wow.
Very big.
Huge. So that's I think that was one of my fun destinations because there's a lot of history there.
What about Tunis? No.
Tunis is cool. Tunis is not bad. But again, it's just that it was a different type of hustle bustle in Istanbul, being such a huge civilization once upon a time. It still is a pretty big civilization, but you have all that, the Ottoman Empire, all of that history there.
So you came back, and then you continue with US Airlines or different airline?
No, so I actually went back to the U.S. And I was flying for a what's called a charter type of company. Charter, they were doing a lot of
Okay.
charter flying, and
Uh-huh.
this was I was flying 737. Um,
Uh-huh.
I did that, and then I went on to the company that I'm with now, and
Oh,
it's the
okay.
Spirit Airlines. I love it. Great company.
So,
They have a
what about the?
reputation in the US, don't they?
Yeah,
Spirit.
Yeah, correct.
you see it.
So, do you get your upgrade yet? So they
I
upgrade you?
haven't yet. I've been at this company about 2 years. I'm looking at maybe another year and a half or so.
Which
Uh-huh.
plane are you on right now?
I'm on the 320, Airbus 320, 321s,
Ah,
319,
cool.
Nice,
the Airbus.
nice.
Is
So,
that the main seat for Spirit?
Yeah, that is.
okay.
Ah, okay,
Mm.
interesting.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're getting 321
Oh,
Neos.
sorry. So,
Huh?
so when you came back, and then the COVID-19 happened,
Yeah.
and then now, during this pandemic, how is flying? I mean, is it
So,
like
so I
normal?
know throughout the world, it's been a different aspect for every area you go to. In the U.S. during COVID, when it actually started to happen, I was still flying. I was still
Mm.
flying, and during that time, I was going to airports that were normally jam
Mm-hmm.
packed, and we would come into some of these airports, and not a single person in there.
Mm-hmm.
A single
Okay.
person. It was amazing
Same here.
seeing nobody
Okay.
there. Chicago, and there's only like 10, 15 people. Chicago
Uh-huh.
O'Hare.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an eye opener, and
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to how cyclical aviation gets affected by stuff like this during 9/11, during COVID. So a lot of things happened. So that during this time, a lot of people were laid off as far as the aviation industry, not just in the
Okay.
U.S. as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the company that I'm at, they've got a really good union, and the company itself. They are very profitable, and they were profitable. So we were able to survive that
Mm-hmm.
without putting anyone in furlough, meaning
Mm-hmm.
laying off anyone. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, we minimized our flying, but we were still on payroll. We were still
That's
surviving.
amazing.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
we get a bad rep, but the thing is, the company. It doesn't matter about what social media says and all that, but the numbers don't lie. People are flying on it.
Mm-hmm.
We're making money, and we
Mm-hmm.
were one of the few companies uh, in the U.S. globally that didn't lay off any of its pilots.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I thought. That's just insane.
remarkable.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's all about timing as well. And I got lucky. I came to this company, and I'm really happy at where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I think that during the pandemic, excuse me. So after that, after just recently, let's say about in January of this year, or even December, it started to pick
Mm-hmm.
up. I think everybody was just they were sick of staying at home, and they wanted to travel. So U.S. was open. As far as
Mm-hmm.
globally, it wasn't open. So in the U.S., people were traveling. Yeah, flights were full. Flights were full, even with middle seat empty. Now we don't do the middle seat empty. Every seat is
Mm-hmm.
open that you can book. You have to wear a
Do you
mask.
have any? Yeah, you have any mask or
Oh yeah.
vaccine
Oh yeah,
mandate?
oh yeah, oh yeah. We always there's always bound some person, whatever that is, you
Yeah.
can wear it, you don't have to wear it, but when you buy your ticket, there's a thing, and you can see it on social media, even there people are saying, wear your mask when you go to the
Mm-hmm.
airline, you go into the
Yes.
airport. It says it, wear your mask. People just, they, I guess, being cooped up in a house for a year, a lot of
Yeah.
people, they lost their
Yeah.
common sense. Yeah. Yeah, so that was a big thing with people. Yeah, that's what happened.
And we know like mandates are a pretty big issue, especially where you're from. It's causing a lot of grief, I can see, especially in social media.
Yeah. So as far as Texas in general, we've been, they lifted the ban for the mask over here. Depending on where you go, you gotta wear it, but it's not mandatory to wear a mask over here. So you'll see people walking without masks and so on. So it's common here to not wear it. But it goes into what's right, what's wrong, who's political side, and that just opens another can of worms. So I stay away from that. I stay away from any of that stuff. I just enjoy life and just grateful for what's happening, and we're still alive. That's the biggest thing. There's a lot of people that passed away, so it's been interesting. People want to travel. People want to go out and travel, and I think it's the right thing too. You're not. So we have a stigma of people thinking that what social media puts on it is what it is. It's actually not. It's actually pretty comfortable. We have Wi-Fi. We have whatever product you want to get, drinks and snacks. Of course, there are always, there's always crazy people out there, and that's not just with, Spirit. That's with any carrier you go on. You'll find someone like that. With the amount of, it's a numbers game. It really is a numbers game. The amount of people you transport, there's always bound to someone that's cuckoo, someone that just that's angry with life. So it's just common, and that's everywhere in the world. People are all the same. But yeah, it's a low cost carrier. It's very viable as far as productivity. We're very good on our product, and our company is growing like crazy right now. Mashallah, alhamdulillah. So it's, we're getting a lot of aircrafts. We have a lot of them on order. Brand new A320s, 321 Neos. When you step in, it smells like brand new leather. You come into the cockpit, it's like at a 0 odometer.
I just find it so hard to understand. All the other airlines are just struggling to stay afloat, and here you guys are buying new airplanes.
Like I said, they have such a good understanding of the market, and they see what's happening, and that also comes back to what the other airlines are doing around the world. They're, of course, we're not, our target isn't going across to Europe. It's not going across to Asia. That's just not our market. They found a market. Like I said, America is very big. So within the U.S., there's so many states, cities, counties, airports that people live by. So they're connecting the dots, and people want to travel. As far as longevity, I think this company definitely has. It's been operating since the 80s, so it's been there. Alhamdulillah, like I said, I came in at the right time. Got my foot in. I already have a good seniority at this company, and like I said, hopefully next year or the year after, I should be upgrading. Lifestyle. You know what it comes down to? It comes down to lifestyle. You could be flying anything. Any type of metal. It could be a 747, 777, 330, 320, Cessna 172. But it comes down to quality of life. What is your quality of life? Because your quality of life, it could be, you could be making, $1 million flying a Cessna 172, and you could be, flying a heavy jet 74, because we have that metal jet syndrome, heavy jet syndrome, that we want to fly a big jet. It's not the case. Correct. It's quality of life. Where can I, you've got kids. Where can I spend time with my kids, my wife, my family, and not be gone for maybe 4 or 5 days and not see them? So there's a big aspect of that. Yeah, when you're young, dumb, stupid, you do all that. But when you grow up, I think that you want more time with your loved
Your
ones.
family. Yes, correct.
So, and that's quality of life. Where do you get that quality of life? So that it's
Mhm.
always personal, and I can't tell you you're going to get your quality of life flying a 747 because you can go around the world, going to Shanghai, doing all these things. It's great, but it all comes down to quality of life.
Yep.
How much money you want to make. It's all about quality of life.
All right.
Correct.
Moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
And the next one is in a post 9/11 world, is it easy for a pilot with a Muslim name and appearance to find work in the US? And for Muslim pilots that are already working, does airport security and immigration give you any trouble?
Okay, so I can't say for the whole group, but I can say my personal aspect. After 9/11, I think I was still in middle school. I was still young. As far as when I got into aviation, again, this was around 2008, 2009. That's when I started flying. There wasn't really that much of, they didn't really look at you in a negative context. As far as, you can't come to the airlines. And that's where, like I said, union does come into big play. They can't discriminate on your beliefs, on your religious beliefs, on, how you look. Of course, they're going to tell you to remove your beard or whatever you have. You got to look groomed. And there doesn't matter if you're, whatever religion, whatever practice you do, if you come in with, long hair or whatever type of, they want you in what they want. So they have their SOPs as far as, how the person's going to look. You need to be clean shaved, clean groomed, have nice hair, or have no hair. So the aspect of flying after 9/11, it was, I know a lot of people, they did scrutinize a lot of people back then, but it has become mainline. So it really doesn't affect a lot of people. And being a Muslim in the US, you really don't feel it. People are very welcoming. And that goes back to what you see on media. You don't always want to believe what's happening on media because it's geared towards a certain niche of people, excuse me. And the people here,
Do you face those people?
I really don't. It comes down to your surroundings as well. I'm very thing about energy. If you reflect positive energy, you will get positive energy back. Now, if you're negative and always thinking negative thoughts and negative things, you're going to attract negative people. So of course you're going to backlash with that.
Yes.
You're going to have people like that. But fortunately, I've never had any issues like that. Of course, people will tell you stories that they've had that. But personally, like I said, I've never had any issues like that. People have been welcoming. Of course, you'll have the weird looks sometimes, but it really doesn't. Everybody's so accustomed to, seeing different people, different, parts of the world. That's what I said. America is a melting pot. You get to see these type of things. Of course, you'll have people that will say stupid stuff, but again, it's just if you don't come down to that level, there's no point to even worry about it. As far as Muslims being in the U.S., going back to that main question was, no, actually, there's stuff that happens, but I think it's geared towards a certain area where it is. As far as aviation, there's been a growing population of Muslim pilots as well, Muslim American pilots, and we're seeing a lot of that. And that's good. People are coming out; they're getting more informed and flying. As going through security, I've never had any issues. They've never questioned, even with my passport having Saudi stamps on it because I was working in Saudi. Never asked. Okay, cool. They don't say anything. I'm not on any list. My name is on any list.
It's interesting because the similarity of names has actually caused one of my crew a lot of trouble. One of the pursers, he's from the Philippines, and they have these Spanish names, and he just coincidentally has a name that is very close to one of the drug lords who is Hispanic.
Yeah.
And every other US flight which he took would get held up at the airport like forever, and we'd always have to leave for the hotel before him. So he avoids US flights like the plague.
So he doesn't even go down to the, let's say, the immigration officer. It's actually the computer. It's the computer's fault because it's printing out data. So it's like, hey, this guy matches this. This is okay. This guy, I'm the immigration officer. Oh, okay. Let me ask him this question. Step aside. So it's the person that we should be mad at is the computer.
To the next question, regarding foreigners. If we have foreign pilots in the US with the airlines in the US, is it do they accept foreigners?
As of now, they're not accepting international pilots. You have to first get, as far as immigration wise, I believe you need to have your either green card. You need a green card, but that's something that you might want to ask an attorney. But the thing is, you would need some sort of visa to work here. Their visa or green card, permanent residency, showing that you're able to work here. They are hiring people with permanent residence. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen. The next thing, it goes down to on what type of ratings you hold. You can't hold like a GACA license. A GACA license is from Saudi. You can't hold a JAR license. It would need to be converted over to FAA, Federal Aviation Administration airline ATP license. So once it's converted onto that, then you can, if all the other circumstances, you can get.
Good to know that.
Yeah, but if I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but if any of your viewers, if they're aspiring or they're planning on going this route of aviation, and they're looking for an opportunity, I would highly recommend look into the U.S. market. If you can get the visa and everything, you will save a lot of money. You will save a lot of money in the long run, as far as getting your licenses. Because I know when I was an instructor, there was a lot of people from around the world that came and did their licensing. So we had a lot of people from India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, parts of all over the world, South America, and so on.
And moving on to the final question before we end our session. As for you, do you plan to continue working in the US, or are you looking for another adventure overseas like before?
No, I think as far as adventures overseas, I plan to work in the US. If that answers your question, I plan to work in the US. I don't plan to take an expat job going out overseas as of now. Anything could change. Anything could change. Lifestyle changes. COVID happens, and there's only jobs in one part of the country. Then, of course. But right now, what I've been doing is, like I said, that's one of the reasons I came to the company that I'm at, is because of flexibility and quality of life. I plan to stay in the U.S. because I also have a business as well. I have a business investment company, a real estate investment company here in San Antonio, in Texas predominantly. And, for the viewers out there, and for, I guess, you too, whenever we do this, I always, we've been in the airlines for a while, and we've seen how everything goes up and down. Always have a backup. Always have a backup. Always have, I guess, a side hustle, whatever you want to call it. Always have something. I always have something, and we've seen that. You've seen it personally during when we left Saudi. You had to shuffle a lot of things, but I think that's That's the point that a human actually grows, is when they're in a desperate position, not a desperate position, but they're in a position that they think that, you know, a lot of things, the doors are closing. There's actually a lot of other doors that are opening, and you've got to always be mindful for that. You've got to think outside the box. You can't just be a one-trick pony, you know, as they say over here. You can't just be, yeah, of course, I love what I do. I love flying, but you've got to grow. Don't stick with one thing. We know how aviation is going. We know how cyclical, or how it goes up and down. Back in 2008, the crash over here, so there was a lot of layoffs. So just have something going, you know, to support you, your family. You know, always have something going, side hustle, whatever it is.
Yep. Okay. So thank you very much for him for your
Thank you very much.
for your time, and then for the great interview, great podcast. It was lovely, delightful to have you on our show, and we wish the best for you in your flying and also your real estate business. To maybe one day you will come again.
Oh
do,
yeah.
do come again to our show. We can talk more.
But yeah, what I would like to do, like just to sum it up, would if your audience, if they ever need any help with anything, they can always reach out to me. You know, they can DM me on Instagram, and if there's anything that I can do, my whole thing is, the more I give back, the more I, you know, it does replicate and come back. So whatever I can give back, I'll go out of my way and do it.
Okay. So any last words from you, Kidir? Anything?
No, nothing. Great interview, and we look forward to doing this again on Sunday.
I remember all this stuff. Blinked out.
Recording. That was our recording. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you again on the next episode of JOM TAKEOFF.
Inshallah. And once again, thank you very much, Kidir, for joining us. And to all the viewers, to all of you, thank you very much for watching and for supporting us. Inshallah, we'll meet again next time in JOM TAKEOFF. Assalamualaikum and good night.
Here I am where the movie started. Facing photo that take a trip, flying through the skies and better